to Life, Love and the Pursuit of FI with your hosts Austin Culp and Gregory Gaskin. On this episode, we have Alex joining us from his studio.
Hey Alex, thank you for joining us tonight on Christmas Eve.
Hey,
Thank
what's
you.
up, buddy?
Hey, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I thought we were all dressing up supposedly, but I mean,
Yeah, that went downhill real quick.
This is me dressing up.
I swear I actually don't celebrate Christmas too much, so I don't have my ugly sweaters and hats. So just came on with like little shirts. So
Gotcha. What holidays do you celebrate?
uh, well, I mean, celebration for me is generally just going out and eat. So, but like in a specific like purpose, and then in general, most of the time I just eat. I'm still gonna have family over and eat. So, but just not the more traditional stuff.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Gotcha. All right, so tell us, Alex, uh, what has your FI journey been like?
Yeah, sure. So I came here when I was 14. I grew up middle class in Hong Kong, and and uh, came here when I was 14. And just like a fair number of immigrant kind of stories, the standard of living was higher in the U.S., and also the income aspect for my parents also dropped because their skill set in Hong Kong did not apply here. So so I went from a relatively middle class background in Hong Kong to kind of like have to be very frugal, have to be, you can say, cheap. Like I remember I didn't take vacations until I graduated college. I think I took one vacations in like my 8 years in high school and college. So and then so here and there, like remember a lot of DIY, like and also like I think in the townhouse they used to live in, the back patio, we actually get like a stomper and then did it on our own, like so a lot of DIY kind of projects, and every summer there's like little projects to improve the house that we probably would hire out now, but that we didn't do. So lots of that, and very frugal. So yeah, and um, and when I went to college, I actually went to one of the most expensive school in the country. So and got about $35,000 of student loans, and so this to this days I still think that was the most um, my biggest money mistakes, $35,000 of student loans. And but to show for it, I intentionally dressed. I went to London School of Economics and studied abroad for 1 year, and so that was so after that I didn't travel to another countries for another at least 10 years. So I got all my traveling done in that 1 year span of time when I studied abroad, and didn't do it. So yeah, I mean, and so in terms of so I had went to school, got a lot of debt, graduated in 2009, and and so it's a pretty tough time, to graduate from college, and
Yeah. So, would you say
Yes.
that when when you went to the London School of Economics that they helped you put you on the path of where you're at today?
so I had a shortcut. Like I do a lot of shortcuts in my life, and one of the shortcuts I was thinking about is that the tuition at the time is about $50,000, and so I want to per year, and like not 50,000 like for the whole time, 50,000 for like the whole for every year. So my thought is I want to get out and I want to make $50,000. So the London School of Economics is nice to put on a resume. At the same time, I graduated like I knew going into 2009, like the economy wasn't doing well, so I'm fairly certain about 100 jobs, and I end up with none. So the let's just say the ROI at that point was is negative. So
Okay.
All right, so the saying is you are a collection of what the five closest people that you hang out with.
yeah.
So, on your path to FI, would you say that you had like the community support from like your friends and family?
I think I think that's a huge, long journey. Definitely, like I'm still in this FI journey. And I would say that like for the first, the 10 years was a relatively lonely role. I mean, I came here when I was 14. I went to a school where everyone knew each other from elementary school. So when you join in that scenario, like unless you're like top notch in your pop culture, the music and whatnot, like it's tough to, or like you do athletics, endeavor, like playing football. It's a little bit difficult to make friends. I still and then I went to college. I went to one of the most expensive school on scholarship and student loans and all that. So fitting in was a little bit of a challenge as well. And throughout the whole, until before I found the FI communities in 2018 or so, and I was about 31. And like the I don't actually talk too much about finances to anyone. Like I have specific goals that I want to like achieve. Like I want to pay off my student loans a little before I was 30, and I achieved that at 29 and a half. And then I want to have like I got my CPA so in 2010. So that's like, and I got my CFA in 2000 I think 16. So and other than that, like I have specific goals, but the overall journey were actually pretty lonely, to be honest, until I found the FI communities and throughout the pandemic found you guys.
Okay. Would you say it's lonely because the, I guess, like friends stuff you have wouldn't understand, or you just like, don't feel comfortable like discussing it with them?
A good question. I think it's mostly the lack, actually, like mostly a lack of friends. I think just the combination of different things. Most of my I have high school friends, about four of them, and one of them is moved out state. One of them stayed, but then I mean we hang out maybe once every 6 months. I mean you don't want to over rely on certain relationship. So and a couple more friends that move around. In college, a lot of my the friends I make again either stay in the town because I moved back home. They stay in town. I kind of have to redo the journey, and so we do my friendship. Like I have to rebuild my friends for roster. Like I like to say, I don't have a lot of bench people on my bench there, and so then when you making friends as an adult is not the easiest things. And to be truthful, like until I found the FI communities where like this is such a giving, such a open-minded, uh, you know, community. Like I definitely like I tried different avenues to make friends, and I have to say that like it wasn't particularly easy. And also I was also building my career, so sometimes I get you gotta have to focus. You only have so many hours in the day to to spend. So it's a combination of different factors, to be honest.
Totally. I guess I know like most of my friends are all people I made from college. I have a few friends that are from like high school or older, but I have to say like the FI community are like the only people that I talk to like on a daily basis. Like I don't even call my mom every day, but I talk to our little FI group like every day, all day.
It's this to be honest, like there's no disrespect. It's just a certain point I definitely have to mute the group, like the group stuff. Like I mean, just today, I mean, the past 2 weeks, like past week and a half, people are on vacation. So what kind of Christmas movie to watch? Like people doing their stuff, and so definitely a lot busier. So I do keep that mute, but at the same time, like I really. I just appreciate the community. Like, I mean, I just didn't have that. And like, even before the pandemics, even when I built a local community before the pandemics, I didn't have a group chat with like-minded friends and around the same age and that type of thing. So, which I very much appreciate.
That's awesome. And I believe you now also run your own Instagram and Facebook, and I think you're working on building your YouTube at Your Money Journey, and that's the O's or zeros.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for bringing it up. I mean, before we get into that, I do want to like just talk about like what happens. I mean, between like perhaps when I found the five communities to like before COVID, and then when what transpires. I think there's like a story to tell. So I found five community actually because I bought a car. I was doing real estate. I was buying rental properties, and then my old car, my old junker, gave me a problem. Like I love it's my sister's car. She passed it on to me when she got her job, and then I had it for a couple years. But that car just like when you go on highway, do you have cars that like when you drive 55 miles or above, it's just like
I know what you're talking about.
yeah, and then and then so at this, it started giving me trouble in January 2018. So I said, it's time to change. Bought a used Honda Civic, used white Honda Civic, and then I got a pretty good deal. Gently used, 30,000 miles, and then but then a couple months later in April, I still like having stress over it because I thought it was a very terrible money purchase. It's a depreciating asset. So I found the FI meetup, this Choose FI local meetups, and then I went there, and then they basically gave me a money psychology like therapy lessons and say, well, how much you drive to Baltimore City, right? I live in the suburb of Baltimore, and I drive there to find houses or look at my rental properties, et cetera, et cetera. And then what else? You drive to see your friends. Do you like? Then they're like, well, do you like your old cars? Like, oh, I don't actually drive it too much. I actually drive my new car a lot. Then you get a lot of utility out of the car. You enjoy using it, and then and you do have to use it, and then you're not buying a car and just sitting aside on your parking pads or like on your garage. So yeah, I use it every day to go to work. So I mean, I think it is a reasonable money purchase. So I came back out, and then my anxiety and stress like kind of left, and then I kind of named, for those who follow football, I know Greg you do. I named my car Eli, so after quarterback Eli Manning, and you know why?
Okay. Why?
Because he's white, he's reliable, and it's every so often if you put the pedal to the metal or metal to the pedal, whatever. It can rise to occasions. It's a very nice Honda Civic, so I call my car Eli.
Why not paint?
Why not paint? It's not blue. But I mean, if I was actually thinking about today. I was preparing for this interview, and I said, well, if my car is blue, let's say it's like a blue Model X or like Model S, like Tesla, I would name it Peyton, my Hall of Famer, Peyton. So I love the car so much, and I also love the community. So when the opportunity came, like to become an admin for the group, mostly because other people weren't available. So I just took charge. So every month, from September 2018 to right before COVID, every month I had a library meetup. So.
Can you tell us what group you're a part of? Like
sure.
the group that you're an admin of?
Sure. For those who are outside of the community and trying to understand personal finance, so there's a podcast called the Choose FI, Choose FI. People pronounce it different way. I just pronounce it Choose FI. So you can choose financial independence. So basically, the premise is that you're making choices every day to either put yourself in this positions, or you be in a better position financially. So, and they really encourage members to have their own local groups, because local supports and things like that. And so I've been a part of that. I still even during COVID, I've been an admin for like 3 years now, and I can also tell you a little bit about the library meetup. So at first, there was a funny story. One of the members in the group retired on dividends, and then he and I posted to the group, dividends, right? And so I'm trying to get people to come to my meetups. There was about like 6-7 people at the time, and then I said, well, so the guy and I chat a little bit, email a little bit. It's like, I would love you to come to the group because it was one of the first retirees, like in real life, that I know of. Like he's like 41 years old, like, and then no kids. So I need to know him. I need to know how he figured it out because, and then I said, why don't I pay you some money to come to my library meetup? And then the guy said, no, he's not gonna take my money. He's like, he doesn't want to take my money. So and then he said, why? How about this? Like, I don't like to drive my car that much, environmental reasons. How about we just carpool to the meetups? And I said, hell yeah, I'm going to drive you anywhere you want. California, let's go there. Tell me all your strats. Tell me all.
So, how much did you offer to pay him?
You know,
Because that'd be a hell of an ROI.
it would be. I mean, like, even if I pay him like $100 is already a great ROI. Now I have you guys, so I don't have to pay to have 5 friends, But at the time, I don't know. I mean, I think maybe $20-$50 I was about to offer. I mean, just to pick his brain a little bit on the, but he's the reason he doesn't wants to carpool is that he's also a mustachian. He follows like Mr. Money Mustache. And for those who don't know Mr. Money Mustache, he's the original. They call it the OG of the FIRE movement. So nice blog. Definitely, a lot of people learn a lot from there. And truthfully, like, I mean, he probably wouldn't accept that much money anyway. So I'll probably pay him lunch. Yeah, but I'll definitely pay if he were making that a possibility. Just having a presence like that, is invaluable, right?
Yeah, so I think it's funny how you said that you don't need to pay your friends anymore because you have us. Don't worry, I'll go ahead and I'll bill you for the time. I'm just accumulating the time overall. I'll send you the bill at the end of our friendship. I'll send you the bill then.
And we're negotiating, right, at this point. I will send you
deathbed.
I'll send you a bill for the time that I'm here to help to second podcast interview.
So would you say that who would you say is some of the biggest influences in the FI community that you've had who are like Mr. Money Mustache, as you referenced, the OGs?
Sure. I'll break it up. I'll break up in different levels. So let's just do the blogger level. So Paula Pants of Afford Anything, I definitely used to follow her a lot.
Oh yeah, she's one of my favorite. Just aesthetically pleasing. Her voice is amazing.
Yeah, and I actually I went to FinCon. That's called financial. It's like for bloggers, for financial media people. FinCon 2019. Met her in person. Totally starstruck. I was like, I thought I met Taylor Swift. Like, can I take a picture with you? It's just like, sure. So she's one of them. I also follow a blog called the ESI Money. So then it's earning, savings, and investing.com. Just esimoney.com. What I really like about that is they do a millionaire interviews. So I mean, a lot of time he interviews people who are in high income industry, like super high income. So it's not particularly relatable. But I'm working commercial banking, so here and there are some commercial bank like analysts and the people then. So I found that to be very useful. And then there's also another blog called the 4-Pillar Freedom. So like the writer doesn't post much anymore because he's moving on to do more online marketing, that type of. He has like his own online business now, but if you have a chance, it's still a very good blog. And one of the biggest articles I learned at the time was that I would rather be an income machine than a investing guru. So I was a CFA, I am a CFA still. So investing is important, but then let's say if you make an extra 10% on $1,000, it's like it's $100. But with like maybe 4 hours of like credit card hacking or whatever. Like you can generate that in in a much shorter amount of time. So when you're like, so I would like to say that when you're young, you figured out what you can control first. So the first thing you obviously want to control your savings, like making sure that you live like a college student, continue in your 20s. But once that part is done, like then the next thing is really to figure out what kind of skill set uh, makes you valuable for your employer or your next employers. Like build those skill sets, and then make sure you have banger resume. Like you gotta market yourself, and then make yourself more attractive for your next managers, or like maybe your current managers, so that you get raises and move jobs. I actually have never gotten a promotion, like a true promotions, like ever. Everything of major income increase comes from me switching jobs, just inadvertently actually. Like I used to think I was gonna be loyal to a company for 2 years, but I never had one manager for more than 2 years. Just,
So, how many jobs would you say that you've had since you know,
sure.
graduated college and started working?
I can talk about that right now too, but then after that we'll wrap it up and go back to FI influence. So, and I had one job. I was a CPA, so I got it, and then after that I became, I need 1,000 hour in order to become an actual CPA. So I went to a public accounting firm. Back in the day, I read Warren Buffett, still one of my biggest finance influence, actually, to tie it back up to the FI influence. And I wanted to be an investment guy, like research guy. So, and everything I did geared towards that as an analyst, and then maybe hopefully one a mutual fund. So 2 years after that, I got into an investment banking firm doing research, and I kind of had I was actually literally 25, so a quarter life kind of situation. I figured that that wasn't for me, and I move on. So that's my second job, move on. And then I found my third job in after 3 months of looking. And back then, looking for jobs wasn't as easy. And even when you have a CPA, still gonna take a little while. And then on my first day going into my job, they came to me and said, look at your left and look at your right. In a year, half of you guys will be gone. So they're running a corporate layoff, and I didn't know that. So I was job searching almost from the start, and within a year, I moved to another company, and that I stayed with that company for 6 years. Before I went to a bank. So I overall I had 4 jobs before I was 27. My rap sheets went really long.
Hey.
And then after that, I stayed with the company for 6 years. But then I had 2 jobs with them, 2 jobs and 1 promotion with them. But that promotion came actually after I had an internal offer, and then they came back and said I will make sure you're promoted. So I tie it up to before. I never had a true promotion in my life. Everything comes from either a form of job switching or kind of threatened to job switch. Just the reality of the business. And for younger people who are watching this podcast, watching this YouTube video, it's kind of something to kind of think to think in mind. And then I had 4 companies and probably about 6-7 jobs in the past 10 years.
So, you said that your employers told you guys to look to your left, look to your right, and half of you wouldn't be there in the next year.
Yeah.
That sounds like, in my opinion, right? Just my opinion, it's not how I would want to run a company and tell their employees saying, hey, half of you guys are gonna leave. I mean, it's just how it's gonna. That just sounds kind of toxic to me.
It's kind of, a couple of days ago, you have, there's a CEO who had to lay off half the staff on a Zoom call. I mean, awkwardness runs still in 2021. It wasn't the greatest way, but but I think for them, is to get the message out first of all. there's no good, I mean, there's no good way to do it, but at the time, it's just an advance warning. Even though it kept me like either A, doing well on my job so that I don't get laid off, B, you know, jobs like AS, sending out resume ASAP. So I look at that year as as a year of restoration, so to speak, on a on a mental level. Because again, like I didn't leave the investment banking job, like in the most I mean, like I needed a change. I that wasn't, and again, I was going into that career, thinking that would be something I'd do for long term, and I left 4 months after because I realized that wasn't for me. So having that job, even the job that would lay off people in a year, I still appreciate that opportunity. Let me recalibrate my mindset. Having a regular income coming in, like it's still valuable. I still I got out as soon as I found another job, which took me not a year. But also I was also being selective with what kind of job I would get. But I appreciate that time, even though you know, even though financially it was just a reset year for me, so to speak. And but yeah, I don't hold any ill will. I think that year, I think they needed to do what they need to do. I think blindsiding workers also had a downside as well. Like once everything is done, and then they just have people coming in, and they just like, here's your thing, and you have 2 months of or 1 month of severance. I mean, by announcing on a financial level, maybe they would get the people out of the door, so then they can lay off less people, and then they can save some money. We can go into hour talking about that. I've never been a manager, so I never really know how to yeah, there's a lot of theories behind it, right? So breakup is never fun.
So circling back to the FI
Hmm.
community,
Yeah,
once you find the FI community, uh, you join your local group, and then you become an admin for it.
yeah,
And then from there, how did you get deeper into the community?
sure. So I I think I did a little bit of real estate, and there's a saying there called your network is your net worth. So I always felt that by building up my network more and more, like over time, there's going to be like a benefit. But I don't go into it and say I want something out of this person. I just go into it and think about like I want this person to be my friend. Because again, it goes back to when I was much younger, and then I lost my support when I moved to this country. Even though it's a great move, like moving to this country, but still, like there was a time where I was like fairly lonely and didn't have a lot of friends. I only think about it in the mindset of making friends, and I kind of took that mindset into from real estate to FI. So like if I know that person like is FI, I just say, hey, I need to build a relationship with that person. I actually run a couple of interviews, like kind of like this format, except in real life. Like one of my meetups is in like I interview two people that are FI, and then like in real time. So, and actually, after interviewing them, I realized that doing a live interview is a lot harder than it is than I thought about. So, trash that meetup formats, um, just because like you have to guide them in terms of getting where you want. And just like this conversation we're having, I know we're taking a little bit of drift like here and there, but that's just how a human mind works. So to get deeper in the community, that's one thing to really get to know the people, and also have them come do speeches, do presentations. Like I don't actually I'm mostly a meetup organizer. Like I people tell me like you're a CFA or CPA, you can probably do most of the stuff yourself. But just like my Instagram and YouTube channel in the future, it's your money journey, right? I want the members to contribute to the process, because it's not my money journey, it's your money journey, and so I have the guy that I talk about. he's really into dividends, like and then he did a talk, and then on it, and then which I will post online eventually. I actually have some videos and there, and eventually I'm gonna post it. And then I have a guy who became financially free to talk about like how he not survive, that's a wrong word, how he can live off on the first couple years, like what's his drawdown strategies, right? And then I have right before COVID, I had someone who was a little bit younger than me, and him and his girlfriend are both in that journey together, and then they did the presentations on like how did they figured out their earning, investing, and savings game, and so that they can retire early. His name is Justin Garrett, and he actually he's a CFP, and he also runs Justin Garrett Financial Solution that's geared toward the people in a nonprofit space, like maybe the firefighter, the teacher, the nurses, those who are like public service space. And so yeah, and now he's completely fine. He just did a talk a couple months ago, and that would be my first YouTube videos. I had a videographer film the whole thing, and then we'll be putting that in about like in a week or so. So to conclude, I mean, how do I get deeper into FI community is to really first show up, go to the meetups, right? I mean, if I were someone who is starting out in the FI journey, I would say go to those meetups. Make sure you have to build an interest in numbers. Like a lot of people don't even have that interest. Like they just for some reason they may be taboo to talk about, or maybe it's just not fun to talk about. Totally understandable. You find that you have some interest, and also normalize the conversation of having money discussions in those meetups. Like you go to so the way I structure my meetups is generally there's the presentations, and then there's a lot of social time actually. So there'll be lunch afterwards, so people can just talk about money or just get to know each other. And once those conversations are normalized, then you can get exposed to different ideas. You can get exposed to real estate. I know Austin, you're a real estate guy. Greg, I know you want to buy yourself a duplex, and I invest in real estate myself. And then I would be exposed to people who are in VTSAX. And actually, like at some point, I would have a guy, not a member, volunteers to do a talk on crypto. So basically, and then you have all those confluence, a bunch of different ideas coming in, and then, but then your brains go overload. But the goal is that overload is going to lead to the next step where you can filter out what works for you and what works doesn't work for you. So for example, like house hacking is great for Austin. I know you're a house hacker, and then for Greg, I think you have your little brother live in your house. But for someone who's living who have 2 kids and a wife, that strategy may be throw it out a little bit out the window. But it doesn't mean that he cannot buy a couple rental properties if he lives in a low cost of living area with potentials like a lot of the Midwestern states. So that's one thing. And also doesn't mean that if I live in Maryland, so housing cost is higher, I can maybe do another strategies. I lend money out of my IRA account. So so that's on top of doing index funds and things like that. But I come to all those ideas not today. Like I was really into real estate, and then I did it for a year, and I realized managing rehabs isn't fun. I manage one rehab, and if I do more of that, my hair won't be so full and maybe a little more pretty. So I said, let's take a break. Then I found FI, and I said, well, there's an easier way to do this. Like you can do it through index fund, so that's cool. So I did that, but then I still engage. Still engaged with the real estate communities. I'm still known in my FI community as the real estate guy, so I can still do a quick talk on real estate. But then I incorporate index funds. Like this year is going to be my first year doing index funds. Maxing it out, maxing out my 401k, maxing out my IRA and HSA. And I'm 34 years old, so, and I work in finance I'm still like for me, there's still a lot to learn, you know. So and just having that mindset of learning and also to be open to different ideas, and then keep improving. So that's how I would say how people can view the FI communities, what they can get out of FI communities, and make friends with people. Like I actually don't trust a lot of what I read online, like choose all the group pages. Like sometimes when you have 10,000 or 20,000 people, you have a lot of opinions, and a lot of them, and you can say trolls. Like I don't like how do I trust them? Now I
Yeah.
can have a bunch of guys and people in the singles in pursuit of financial community independence group, like in the group text, I can say, hey, you know, what do you think about that? Because I trust you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
So, would you say, since this is, of course this is your first year of fully investing in indexes, would you say that investing in index or real estate gives you a better return on your money?
Um, well, even in real estate, you have okay. So let's backtrack. Real estate is a viable business. You have to treat real estate as a business if you want to be more active in it. Like it's an active business, but because it's an active business and you're spending a lot of time on it, you need to have an ROI that is higher than, let's say, what index fund can gives you. But it's similar to, let's say, someone who's investing in like stocks, like actively. Like we have a mutual friend who loves Macy's, and you know, and he's all Buffett's. Like you know, I actually, if I talk to him like you know about stock investing, like I think it will for me to figure it out like what he's talking about, like why he's investing in Macy's. I own Macy's too. We have the same thesis, but he's so concentrated. Like he has 40% of his portfolio in Macy's. I have about 2 grand. So, and the difference between that is that he spent hours and hours and hours of time researching Macy's. And I asked him like, look, how much time do you spend per stock? And he said like he sometimes would go a year of researching before buying something. So for me, like, and that's I actually was actively investing. I managed my parents' portfolio and I actively invest. You know, but one thing about the FI communities that I learned is that that's your a cost to your time. They call it opportunity cost if you study economics 101. So if your index fund generates 7% return over, let's say, on average over 20 years or 10 years, or maybe 6% because of all the gain we had for the past like 18 months. Anything you do that you actively do needs to have a baseline performance of, let's say, 6-7% plus whatever the gray, I call it the gray hair premiums that you go put in, like no gray. So actually, I have 2 strands there, but because I think I kind of like so for real estate and also for active investings, I I still do them like a little bit here and there, like but at the same time, like I think you can do a lot of things and have massive returns, but you need to have an interest in doing them. Like, and the interest is going to drive you to go through the tough time. Like, you know, like I connect with a lot of rehabbers and you know people who are doing it. Like, and a lot of them truly love some part of the business. Like, but I realize that I love the analysis part of the business. I don't love like the GCing, the talking about real estate there, and different parts of it. So then I realized like I'm good to be a private lender, and then I get 10 to 12% return on that because I can once underwrite the deal and the people, and then like money once the money out the door, I get passive return. So that's what I figured out. Uh, that's the very most passive way of investing in real estate, and also have an acceptable level of return based on the risk. Because I'm getting 10 to 12%, which is higher than you know the 7% that I talk about, or 6% in the stock market. So I know I talk a lot here, and I definitely went off a little bit of tangents, but I can there's no you can you can do a lot of things to make like money in different industries and different businesses, like, and I would say for someone who's like young and in like, the best thing to invest is in yourself. Like, so you go to a job, and then like go to a new job. You figure out what's good at your job, in that job, and then go do it well, and you build, and then you build that skill set, and then you make sure you market yourself well. So you put in your resumes, and this is where the community is very helpful, right? So you have a community, so probably like in the five communities that enough people in certain industry, you can say, hey, what kind of skill set is good? So you figured out what kind of skill set is good, so you develop those skills, and then you can and then you go and learn about job searching. So how do I job search? Like so that all the litany of skill set can be learned, and have a FI community along can help you learn. And then once you figure that thing out, then you can say, I don't need to learn negotiations. And we have a meetup yesterday, and I think there's a breakout room where we talk about just negotiations in general, because yeah. So I mean, and I would say that investing in yourself versus building a business in real estate, I think it probably takes about the same time, but then at the same time and the return really depends on like person by person. Yeah, I mean, if you're in an industry that doesn't generate a lot of income, then maybe going real estate route would be investing all your time, maybe DIY a lot of the job yourself. Maybe that would be the best return on your money. But then for me, who has a CPA and CFA, this is my risk. It's pretty, like, I mean, I don't think I can hold a hammer for more than an hour, man. But I can certainly have this keyboard and type away, and my Excel. I think I still have some Excel skills. So to conclude, figure out who you are as a person. Like, do you think you can see yourself making X, Y, and Z income versus like building a real estate empire, versus like being an active stock investors, versus maybe have your own crypto portfolio, do some like staking and farmings or whatnot, and go from there. Like, and the whole process can take years and years, because you're in your 20s, and you're just exploring, like, and I was certainly doing a lot of exploring myself. I never go full in any like endeavor. My income, my net worth is probably not as high as if I focus on something when I was 23, 24. But at the same time, you have a richer understanding of yourself, and you know what you like and what you don't like. And I think I am a far happier person right now, knowing who I am and what I pursue, and have less net worth, versus someone who has a lot of net worth but being in places that they don't really like to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. How would you say the FI community, I guess, has helped you, I guess, grow your net worth?
Sure. So Choose FI has a 10 commandment. They call it it's like the 10, and then they roll it out in early 2017, and so by 2018 I looked at it and I said like half of them are all like all about saving money, and once I realized that, it's a slow realization that I got the savings games down, and like I said about 15 minutes ago, and it's time to grow my net worth by increasing my income. And one of the reasons why I kind of left real estate is that in real estate, the best way if you're in that, there are two main ways to generate incomes. And one is by flipping houses, because you flip your house and you get your profit. But if you don't sell your house, you can use called BRRRR methods that Bigger Pockets talks about. And then you're still capturing the increase in equity. You just refinance the house and then increase your equity, your net worth. It's in a roundabout way you're increasing your income, which roll down into your equity. Like if anyone studies accounting, like should know that. So, and I realized that's not something I want to do. I want to take the risk of because you generally want to get a hard money loan for like 12%, and then you run the risk of GCing, and then you have to find a bank to refi it. Some banks lets you do it in 6 months. If you have a tenant, some banks doesn't, and then so it's a lot of time involved. So I realized early on in my FI journey, in the FI communities, that I need to increase my income, and over time it's about exposure. Like say it, say it as you may, a lot of people do get cynical in the FI communities because like all the freaking bloggers are like high income network engineers or software engineers and making like 200 grand, and of course they can have 70% savings rate, yada yada yada. And at the same time, like once your savings games are down, like you can keep doing what you're doing, maybe push yourself to like you can do 80%, 80 grand a year, but if you make like 100 grand a year, you will go get to FI faster. Like I'm not you have to decide yourself to take on the risk of bumping your or increasing your time working, or increasing your productivity so you can bump it up to 100 grand, or like taking the risk. Like changing jobs is like the best way to increase your income in the W2 space, but it's a lot of work. Like it's a lot of risk. I mean, too. Like, what if you go to a company that you don't like? I mean, kind of like me, I did that. Like, I went to a company and had like a quarter like crisis. So you take the risk, and then, but at the same time, like, I know that if I do enough research, if I don't, then figured out how to protect my downside, and like by smartly interviewing people or jobs, or like and smartly network with people, then I have more informations about the next job, and more informations about like how to make more money. And that's where the FI community is really useful because people are so open about talking about their income, like, and at least anonymously. But over time, like 2 years, when I start being an admin, when I start doing meetups, I sometimes felt like unqualified because holy crap, there's a lot of high earners here. But the thing is like a lot of people don't want to do the dirty jobs of organizing meetups. Why else? I mean, I definitely ask and motivates, and not many people could do it. So, but over time, I was the one who did it. Over time, like I was able to grow my meetup from 8 people to like 60, like right before COVID. Like there was a picture of us in a room, that's like we're in 60 people packing a room of like 20, and then the librarians came to me and say like give me a talk and say like you can't pack that many people. I mean, talk about COVID risk, right? That's before, and then but I became over time good at networking with people, and also have a lot of real life people in my life, and that get the exposure about the income side. And that's where I said like I'm not comfortable, like I need to increase my income, like and that's like I used to be very cynical, but then just by breaking my own limiting beliefs that I could do more, and that knowing that sometimes like it's a lot about your value, like about giving your value to the next place, and not and like knowing your own worth, knowing that you're worth more than what you're being paid, and getting your worth is really important. Like especially for someone who's like graduating in 2009. I graduated in the Great Recession, so I didn't have a job until 2010, and so that's how I did my CPA, because I had the free times I didn't know like what to do with. But from then on, I always felt like grateful to have a job. I still am, to be gainfully employed, that my value is being valued by my employers. But at the same time, like that also creates a limiting mindset and say like, oh, why don't I stay loyal to my company, and then maybe they will reward me at some point. But at the end of the day, you need to figure, like, if they don't give you what you're worth, you need to explore it a little bit yourself. That's the, but that, I mean, I'm very happy at currently where I am. Like, you know, my manager is someone who you know, recruited me, like asked me to join, and so, and then like, but that's also a result of just a lot of I make sure I connect with her every 6 months after she left, and just say touch base and say, hey, you know, just trying to see how you're doing, like, you know, if you have opportunity, let me know. And I did that for about 3 years. And then in the middle of summer of COVID, she, you know, she just, I had a bad day at work, and then one day she just emailed me and said, someone retired in my company, so great great resignations, right? Great retirement, you know, that starts at the beginning of COVID. Someone retired, and then she said, do you want to come? And I said, that was a year and a half ago, and I said, yeah, let's do it. Like, I think I'm ready. So yeah, but so it all comes from having a community of people that share their finances. Like, I mean, most people don't share their income, but once you have enough exposure, then you realize that that's normalized. Higher income is normalized. It's not just some bloggers who talk about making 150, 200. It's someone I can pick up on my phone and say and talk. So once it's normalized, then you know that you could be worth that much, and that's becoming like, and that's when you start taking steps, and then when you break out your limiting belief, and then say, I can do this.
I think you also said something that's also really insightful, is you had your manager come to you and ask if you wanted another role, and
Mhm.
it goes back to how your network is your net worth.
Yep.
You were able to find another opportunity because of that relationship that you had.
Yeah, oh, and there's another backstory to this, and I know we kind of like drift a little bit, but it's part of the community too. Like, I mean, I would say that, like, if I do a talk on just like talk of relationship building professionally, I think I can do that, like, with confidence. So I have never gotten a job also without networking. So, like, so remember the story where I was graduating 2009 and 2000. So I came back from that expensive school that didn't get me a job in 2009, and I was studying for my a CPA, and then I was like, I need to find jobs. So I went to a local university, and then like I just asked them, hey, I don't go to your university, but is it cool if I showed up? So, like, you know, and then say, hey, I won't cause trouble and things like that. And they said, yeah, sure, come in. Like, it's a public university. We are here to serve the people in the county. Cool. Went there, met a HR person, and like and build a relationship with her. By building relationship, I just mean like afterward you get your business card, and you write down this person, like you write down a couple of things, and you like go back to them like 2 days later, like, you know, kind of like going on a date. You don't want to go back like every, like, you know, right after. You wait a little bit, cool, chill it, and then you just send a message. And
Oh, I go right back after that same night.
yeah, same night,
Hey,
yeah.
it was a great time. Like, you want to go out again?
Greg doesn't waste time. Greg doesn't waste time.
Hey,
I like that.
Yeah,
gotta get straight to the point.
that's fair. That's fair. So, I mean, I wait a little bit, like 2 days, and I send a message, and every like 6 months or so, like I'll send messages. I send her, and I actually saw her again in 2010, the same place, same, like, you know, and I saw her again. So within like that month, later on that month, she's like, "That's an opening." So she called me up and said, "Do you want to come interview?" And I said, "Heck yeah." So that's my first job. My second job is the investment banking. So it's not everyone can get into investment banking, right? So I joined a local CFA society, and I went there. Like, I'm the youngest guy there. Like, I was, you know, the older guys in their like early 30s and 40s, and they're professionals. So that was like a networking kind of thing, like a mentorship, like a buddy system. So I got assigned to some guy who worked in that company. that I joined, talked to them and said like I'm very interested in this and all that. Like 6 months to maybe a year down the road, and then like they have an opening, call me up and said, hey. I mean, I'm sure he got a referee money. Like I'm pretty sure he did. But then like I help him out getting money. He got me into the job, the second job. So the HR person that I was telling you about a minute ago. So when I was actually real back, my third job, there was a lady who that I knew from my first job. I asked her when I was searching. I said, "Hey, if you have opening, let me know." She got me in, and then the HR person calls me up, like from the first job. She moved to another job, so she called me up and said, "Hey, Alex, do you want to get? I know you never really wanted to be an accountant forever. You want to be an analyst, right? Then do you want to come to interviews?" And then like that's how I got my fourth job. So bam, 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 bam. All four of my first like jobs there, all relationships. And also the banking job I got. Again, the manager calls me up and said, "Do you want to do interviews?" So, I mean, obviously, like even in the FI communities, like I spend a lot of time periodically checking up on people. So one of the friends, like I think she got COVID vaccine, the booster a couple of days ago, so she like she was not doing well. I mean, I think on a Saturday, I just out of the blue just ask her like, "Hey, how are you doing? Like, are you doing well?" Like when I see someone like just periodically checking in people, like that's how I do it, and that's how I build relationships. And again, ultimately, I can have all the certificates in the world, but like the relationship part is what really helps me a lot. And this is actually why I want to keep going with your money journey. It's because like I really enjoy the time that when I met you guys at Amberley, in Denver. I met you, Greg, in Chicago, and then DC, and then Economy Conference. And for those who don't know, like because I'm throwing out names, Amberley Grant. She's one of the most charismatic girl that I know, woman that I know. Sorry, woman, and she's starting her own brand, Amberley Grants Finance. She runs a call every Tuesday, so check her out. 5 p.m. Western time, not Western, but like Midwestern time, Rocky Mountain time. That's that they call it. In Economy is the conference for 5 people. So yeah, I mean, I'm so inspired by just like meeting so many people, and then I knew that like I can always hop on a call with you guys, but you guys are not in my town, and I want to grow that in my community.
Nice. I would like to say, the saying, friendships are kind of like flowers. You gotta continuously water them, or it's gonna die.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and like you said, Amberley, I believe Amberley's Facebook page group is Amberley Grant Personal Finance.
Let me check.
Oh yeah, see, Amberley getting free publicity.
Heck yeah.
You always, this is just like you said, your network is your net worth, right?
Yeah.
I believe she would also help us out doing this thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So with what you want to do,
Sure.
what is like one thing that you want people to take away from your money journey, your group, meetups and stuff? If they had to take like one thing away.
Look at your left and look at your right. Those can be your friends that can help you grow in your journey to financial independence.
Yeah, and to clarify, it's actually Amberley Grant Finance. That is her Facebook page. We will also drop a link for her page in the comment section of this post.
And let me also spend a couple minutes with Amberley talking. So she runs this thing like every Tuesday for those who don't know. And then I just got back from Chicago meeting my real life 5 friends. Virtual 5 friends and turns into real life 5 friends. And then and then we talked about in that Tuesday call, and I kind of like brought it up. Me and another guy brought it up and said like, why don't we just have one in Denver? Like Denver is cool. Like lots of 5 people live in Denver. It's like the Mr. Money Mustache headquarters is in Denver. So Amberly planned a meetup in 2 weeks. And then I said, oh man, I spent all the money in like Chicago. Do I want to go? And then, I mean, a week later, I mean, and then I decided to go because just like I need to meet her. Like that girl just is very good person, and also does everything. Like she's awesome. Like so I hope her to have all the success with her new brand, and yeah, I mean always she's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, Amberly's great, and she's one of the kindest people you'll meet who will go out of her way to help you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would one more story about her. I mean, like we're like having a little like Amberly grand appreciation party right here, but I think it should be said. Um, when like she and I like she's doing her own brand and she's hired like delegating out like some duties. So I asked her like who are you using to delegate, and then she got back to me within like less than a day, and she's like, oh yeah, I'm hiring this person, and then like she's doing a class, and then like, do you want to join us? I was like, and then just like that, she's just that type of person. Like, I mean, she's all about social capital. Like I call relationships, you call it social capital. It's like the relationship part, and that's how like you have the financial capital and social capital for her is the relationship. So like we also align in that context as well. Like we both believe in having a bigger communities, and that's how we can help each other grow. This like and the FI community in general is one of the most generous communities, one of the most sharing communities. Most of the people like I can text Greg about something and he can get back to me within a day, like you as well. Like how awesome is that? Like just having a Rolodex of people with different specialties that can all contribute.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
all
and
want to be rich and social capital, not broke.
yeah, I agree. And just like how you mentioned, Alex, you've done like a mentor program. I believe also Amberly does a mentorship program
Mm-hmm.
as a offset from the Tuesday night calls. So if anyone's interested in that, you can reach out to Amberly, her page, and find out more information.
Yeah. So how long are we? Like, it seems like we just kept. I mean, it's great conversation.
We are about an hour in.
So let's go ahead and get this wrapped up. So Alex, one more question for you.
Sure.
So for someone who is starting off on their journey, what do you think is some of the best advice you can give someone?
Be open-minded. And I'll give it more explanations. I find that when you start joining something, like people could get a little narrow-minded, right? So like if you go to a bigger pocket, like groups, real estate, gotta gut houses, like and then you will go to choose that buy. They're like VTSAX. So like that's how cults becomes a real thing. Like when there's dogma, when people just follow one thing rigidly without thinking like, oh, is it really something that I can apply to me? Like if someone is good at picking stock, like the friend we talk about, like VTSAX is not good for him. Like and he loves the researching part. Then go ahead invest in all the Macy's in the world, right? So if someone loves grabbing a hammer, then go do real estate. Maybe like save some money. Like if someone can look at YouTube and figure out how to gut a house, then go gut a house, because I think the ROI would be much better than my ROI. So be open-minded and also know your strength, know yourself. It doesn't come in a day, but don't rigidly follow everything that you're told. Think for yourself.
This has been the Life, Love, and Pursuit of Fi podcast. I'm your host, Greg,
I'm your host, Austin.
and it was a pleasure talking with you, Alex.
Thank you for your time.
It's time to party.